It is June 17th, 2025. And if you're worried about World War III, I've got good news. We have a UFO invasion on our hands, people. This is Inverted World Live. Welcome back, everybody. This is Inverted World Live. I'm your host, Shane Cashman. Thank you so much for joining us once again in the dark hours in the late part of the day. We are here at 10 o'clock p.m. I have to check the clock. So I've been like in a dream world the past few weeks. We've been inundated with so much information. I'm like floating through the nightmare that is our reality. But I'm glad you're here to join us and walk through this nightmare with us. I'm joined by Brandon. What's up, brother?
What's up, guys? Brandon Miner, your official guy in the chair for iDub Live. Let's get weird.
On my way here, the sky was getting very, very dark, and the lightning was just pulsating throughout the entire sky. And I'd have to take these very narrow, winding roads on the way here through the forest. And there's been a lot of deer lately. You might have heard me mention that on the past few episodes. And as I'm getting close to the studio, I see a deer, so I slow down a little bit, and it goes into the woods. But somehow this is like a gymnast deer or something. As it is leaping into the forest, it does this thing where it defies physics and flips around and is all of a sudden facing the road again and floating through the air towards me. And I swerve, and I narrowly miss this deer. Thankfully, I know the person behind me was like, that was a miracle, because that could have been bad. I can't believe I almost hit that deer. I'm glad I didn't. But I've hit a deer before. I hit a deer once on my birthday, and this is about 10 years ago. This is a spooky occurrence. My birthday, it was about 2 a.m, and it just another scenario of a deer just leaping out of the darkness right in front of me. It had no warning, and that deer exploded. My car accordioned, and I was still able to drive it home. But what happened was it left like an imprint on my car, and it left somehow some fur on the car. And I made a joke about how I'm going to attract other deer now. And I hit another deer like on the way to get that car fixed. And I was like, well, I shouldn't have made that joke. And now I'm kind of worried that I made the joke again, because I have to drive home now. So I'll report back tomorrow, and hopefully I make it home without hitting any deer. You've been having deer issues, right?
I have, and it's the later schedule here has afforded us nice, quiet, completely pitch black, dark drives home out here in the WV. And I see 20, 30 deer a night. It's nuts. Almost hit 3 every single night. Yeah. So I'm going way slower now than I usually do.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah. Be safe out there. And for those just now joining us from YouTube, who are coming over from IRL, thank you so much for joining us. We're happy you're here. We have a fun show ahead of us. We're going to talk a lot about UFOs. And again, this is a call-in show. Our phone lines are open. We're going to talk about some UFO stories that have been in the news the past few days. But we have the link to call in pinned to the top of the chat in both YouTube and Rumble.
It's actually happening as we speak, because I'm a dummy and did not do it.
Brandon's doing it right now. And once that is there, you guys can start clicking in and joining us, and we'll take your calls. It is audio only. You will not be on the screen. But if you've got some weird story you want to tell us, if you've seen a UFO, we've had some really wild UFO encounter stories. We've had people who've seen cryptids. We've had second-hand accounts from people whose grandfathers or fathers, mothers have seen things, or even had allegedly retrieved the Flatlands monster, which is a prominent cryptid down here in West Virginia. So if you got anything, or if you're a skeptic, or you have something you want to say to us that you think we got wrong and we should know, give us a call, let us know, and we'd love to talk to you. I'm beginning to think that these deer, some of them might be like remote controlled, and they're out to get me. So
oh man,
you gotta really watch out for the remote controlled deer, dude. They're bad. But man, UFOs. This has been an insane year for UFO news. It's kind of reminding me of 2020, at the beginning of lockdowns and that whole scenario, which I'm sure some of you remember. The paranormal UFO sightings were just through the roof. Every day there's always this stuff going on for decades, but you notice if you're tracking this stuff, there just seems to be an influx of things. And 2020 was big for it. And some theories were because we were all home. We had no idea what was going on. Anxiety was like just through the roof. People were paying attention to things more. The skies were clearer than ever. I think it was the Himalayas that people could actually see the tops of for the first time because so much industry had just shut down. So people were seeing things, whatever they were. Maybe it was extraterrestrial, maybe it was demons, maybe it was just Lockheed Martin, or maybe it was just a weather balloon that someone lost that they made in Hobby Lobby, and it happened to float over the country, and then Joe Biden shot it down with a $2 million rocket. You might remember that from last year. These things happen, but lately, UFOs are really popping off, and in Colombia, we have these spheres. Maybe you've seen the footage of these spheres. It started with the Buga sphere because it was found in Buga, Colombia, which is this like small soccer ball sized sphere floating around the sky. There's also one seen in China. But let's get into some of that stuff. Let's pull up the Colombia story, Brandon, sir, and we will read through this first article, which is all about the UFO invasion in Colombia. And now this is about the second mysterious sphere which appears in the sky, because the first one was what they called the Buga sphere, which has its own strange story. So it goes. A mysterious metallic sphere was captured soaring above a field in Colombia just 2 months after locals recovered a similar object many are calling a UFO. The footage, filmed on June 7th over a sugarcane field in Yumbo, shows the sphere darting in a zigzag pattern and maneuvering in ways that appear to defy conventional aircraft. Witnesses described the object as moving with great speed and freedom as it hovered above the ground. So, not like a wayward balloon.
It's American. If it's moving with freedom, it's American.
Right. I love that. Yeah, we must have made this now. You're right. The story is settled. However, many people said the object is either a balloon or the video was created using AI. Okay, well, the balloon, maybe it was a remote control balloon, and the AI we should always be considering, for sure. UFO researcher Jamie Musson, whose research, sorry if I'm mispronouncing your name, sir, whose research has stirred controversy for nearly a decade, released a video on his show, Musson Television. He described the sphere as likely not from here and suggested it may be a technology humans do not yet possess. So maybe by from here, he means Colombia. Maybe he means Earth. I'm not really sure, but I'm assuming he means Earth. When the workers, it goes on to say, were investigating the crops, this sphere appeared and they were able to capture it with state-of-the-art equipment. The images are truly extraordinary, Musson said. He added that the latest sphere appeared nearly identical to the first, recovered in Buga, about 43 miles from Yumbo. Scientists who analyzed the latest video said the object emits an electromagnetic field, generates strong heat, and may possess anti-gravity capabilities. Now let's look at these photos here. What do you think of these photos, Brandon?
I mean, it looks anti-gravity to me.
It's in the sky.
That's just first and foremost.
Yep.
I'm definitely weary of the AI thing. I mean, you're always going to have this issue with pictures that are taken on cell phones and distance shots and stuff like that, where they're going to zoom in on it, which creates a pixelation and everything just being too blown up. So again, we're met with this grainy film, hard to identify whether or not this is a real thing or not. I'm waiting to see the videos because I want to see if those are, similar to the photos that we're seeing, like with its placement and stuff like that.
Yeah, I think we have some we can pull up after this too. So there's some photos for you. For those who are just listening, we're seeing a metallic sphere floating amongst the fake clouds. There's a darker sky in one and a blue sky with some clouds in the other. It's zoomed in. It very well could be AI, but I do want to believe. And we'll continue reading. From the Daily Mail. We believe these spheres are investigating, observing us, possibly searching for the first one recovered in Buga, Musson said in a translated statement. Now, that is quite the theory. And I'm not opposed to that theory. It kind of lines up with if you want to believe this is happening, and I think people are seeing things. We've heard a lot of very interesting stories from people who just call into the show. They've seen things they can't explain. I've seen things I can't explain. I just went through that story yesterday. And perhaps they are here investigating. I don't know what they are. I tend to think it could be a mixture of demons or breakaway civilizations, and maybe not aliens as we think about it. But like we've heard from callers and from stories where I've interviewed other people for the Inverted World books, there's a lot of stories of people being abducted and seeing the stereotypical gray alien with the light bulb shaped head and the big eyes. But maybe that's just the costume they wear. So we don't know that we're actually looking at us in a costume. But I'll go on. Okay. Could we be on the path to contact? He says. That's the extraordinary question we're asking today. The first boogosphere, recovered on March 2nd by locals, weighed about 4.5 pounds and was described as having the temperature of a refrigerator when touched, but emitting strong heat when not. A team led by Guatemalan researcher Jose Manrique analyzed the Yumbo video and insisted it had been manipulated by, it just says A. Weird typo, right? I'm assuming it's supposed to have an I after that A.
I have no idea. Yeah, well, let's go with that.
Come on, Daily Mail. Come on, we're trying to do some serious reading of UFO stuff, and you can't even get the AI right here.
Spell check, my friends. It's been around for a while.
I'm going to send a real Karen email to your editors tonight. You missed the I.
Karen Cashman.
Oh boy, don't get me started. Okay, it is indeed identical to the first. The object may be inscribed with strange alien writing, a message for humanity, which Manrique's team previously deciphered to say, and this is a quote, that they believe is a translation from the sphere, the origin of birth through union and energy in the cycle of transformation, meeting point of unity, expansion and consciousness, individual consciousness. What do you think?
I'm reading it one more time to really just digest what the hell you just said.
Yeah.
The origin of birth through union and energy in the cycle of transformation. Meeting point of unity, expansion and consciousness, individual consciousness.
I feel like if you just read it 3 times, it's about to appear now in the room. This seems a little too on the nose for me, but who am I? Why I'm thinking that is because it reminds me very much of the language that was on the Georgia guidestones. The guidestones. Do you ever hear about the guidestones? Mm-mm. They were like this weird monument that showed up overnight. No one really knew who put them there. There's a lot of theories as to who put them there, what groups maybe, or what person. This is actually in one of the Inverted World books as well. I happened to visit them right before they were bombed. They had this weird message on them in all different languages, and basically it was about how to repopulate the earth after a cataclysm, more or less. A lot of interpretations of it sounded like it was actually pro-population control. Other people would disagree with that. There's people out there who are very much into the guidestones and think they weren't that's a misinterpretation. But they were a weird structure, and they had this weird hole in them that lined up with one of the stars, maybe the North Star, I think it must have been. And they were big, and there was allegedly a time capsule buried beneath it in this remote town in Georgia. So I went to visit them when I was down there for the Georgia book, and I happened to be there, just watching these tourists take pictures of them, and they do have these weird inscriptions on them. Some people treat them like they're an occultist landmark, scattering blood on them, animal bones. I happened to be there when the guy who was in charge of cleaning the guidestones was cleaning them with his power washer. And he told me all these stories about people taking ladders there and climbing to the top and trying to cut chickens' heads off. And he hated those things. They looked like a giant tombstone, which makes sense because that town is actually like the tombstone capital of America. I think they make the majority of tombstones in America in that town, which is, I think, why whoever made it there, because it looks like a giant tombstone. But yeah, that phrase we just read that they allegedly transcribed just sounds really human to me. But yeah, the guidestones, real quick, they were blown up. Someone snuck into the guidestones at night and blew them up. Some people say that they were struck by lightning. There is footage of it. There's people who say that footage is not real, but you guys can look it up.
Was there forensic evidence? Did they find bomb pieces?
I have seen no updates. Maybe we can later, if we have time, we can look it up. But since I was down there for all of that, and I was there right before they blew up, I had met a lot of these people who were then dealing with the debris. And I interviewed the guy who runs the museum that's connected to it and like a lot of the granite in the area. And he collected that debris and he loved those guidestones. And when I asked him if there's any like message of weird population control on it, he got offended. He was like, don't you dare, you know? And he actually referenced a book. I always forget the name of the book, but he referenced a book that he loves, that he told me he reads every year. And that book is about population control. And for people who've been watching Timcast for a while, you'll remember an episode with Alex Jones. This happened before my time. So it's probably like 5 years ago. Michael Mouse might have been on the episode. And Alex is screaming about the gorilla who can read minds. I wish I could remember the name right now. But that's the book. Alex was referencing that book. And so this guy who collected the Georgia Guidestones debris loves that book. Weird. But weird tangent. Anyway, let's go back to the sphere. And for those who's just joining us now, we are talking about the sphere invasion happening in Colombia that have also been spotted in China. Remote controlled drones. Is it Lockheed Martin? Is it SpaceX? Is it demons? Who knows? We'll see. So we read the message that they believe they interpreted from the inscriptions on the Bugosphere. And now the article goes on to say, the identities of the workers who filmed the Jumbosphere, which is the second sphere, have not been made public, but Mussin said the video was sent to David Velez El Potro, a key figure in the recovery of the Bugosphere. Now let's scroll down and look at these photos. These are like some real close-up ones, right? What do we got here?
This first one looks like it was directed by Michael Bay. Then we've got one that looks like it was taken directly from the video. That is claiming to be the Yumbo or the Yumbo, and with the Buga right next to it. Now, the Buga has these weird inscriptions on it.
Yeah.
And it's like, are we supposed to believe that this is an alien language? You know, there's a bunch of crescent moons on it. There's some equilateral triangles on there. You know, kind of symbolizing. What are we even? That's like. Damn it! Why can't I think of the name right now?
I don't know.
Like you picture the eyeball in the middle of the pyramid. You know, like that's gonna drive me nuts. I can't think of the name right now, but
the inscriptions are reminding me also of the Voyager spacecraft. This is why the message that they translated is just funny to me because I'm not really buying it.
Illuminati.
You're right.
Illuminati.
You got it. Glad you got it.
Damn it.
So this is an Illuminati sphere, which, hey, maybe this could all be part of Project Bluebeam, rather, that's happening. But this idea of deciphering language between humans and some other life form, it's been happening for a long time, but it reminded me of the Voyager spacecraft, which we sent into space in the 70s, which has one of my favorite like albums ever put together. It's the Voyager, the Golden Record. They put together all of these like amazing songs, plus like whale sounds, plus songs from all over the world, these different chants, some gospel, maybe Beethoven's on there, some classicals on there. It's actually like a beautiful mixtape that they sent out to space as like a representation of humanity and our culture. And they also left some sort of, their own language to decipher for whomever finds it. So this is like a reverse thing. So we're just like crossing two ships crossing in the night. Should we look at the video? Let's see what this thing says. We might get a better look at the sphere.
Discover a world of savings with...
No, I don't want to discover that.
A world of savings.
Man.
And for those who are just joining us, I'd like to say again, this is a call-in show. Our phone lines are open. You are welcome to call us. We'll get to your calls in maybe about 5 to 10 minutes. If you got anything weird you want to talk about, anything going on, there's a lot going on. I mean, there's possibly World War III raging on, but who knows? Hopefully not. It's been a wild day for news. But I figured, here we are late at night. Let's just try out some spheres.
Okay, this entire thing is in Spanish, so I guess we'll just leave this muted and read the captions.
I'm assuming everyone who only listens to this is also fluent in Spanish.
Yeah.
So we're looking at the video now of the one sphere floating in the sky, and this guy testing this thing. Don't quote me on this, everyone, but I'm going to put it out there. I believe this person was involved with the corpses, those like mummy corpses that the Mexican government rolled out into their government a year or two ago, which I thought were suspicious. Look at it. It's on a scale.
That's lighter than me.
I really thought those mummy corpses, those alien mummy corpses, were bogus. But these are interesting to me. Whatever they are, it's interesting. Like, are they trying to stoke some kind of like widespread panic with UFOs, which isn't really happening? Because we're so desensitized to everything, you know. And I'm looking at this video earlier, or one of these other videos earlier. I was thinking how far we've come as a society. Thinking about War of the Worlds, and when that radio broadcast happened, and it freaked out some people. You know, people were like, "Oh my goodness, it's a real alien invasion." And I don't think it was as crazy as some people make it out. But
people were fleeing from their homes.
There were certainly people that were afraid. And
it's pretty bad, man.
I have a record of it somewhere on. I have a vinyl of it, and the cover is awesome. It has all the newspaper clippings from the day after of people panicking.
Yeah.
This is so good. Those headlines are great. But like, now look at us. We got spheres falling to the ground in Colombia. We've had all these things. We're going to get into pulsating UFO in California. All the things we've talked about. We're actually having congressional hearings all the time. All these whistleblowers like Ryan Graves, like these pilots saying they've seen these things. But also we have the Pentagon being exposed as lying about UFOs, which might have something to do with it. But that's just a recent story, and we've been seeing news article after article and video after video about UFOs for like 10 years, and people are just like, yeah, you know, I just don't care.
Well, here's my bunker buster on this, Shane.
Yeah, let's hear it.
They've done all these studies and all this research on this thing already.
Yep.
What the hell is it made out of? You're telling me you haven't tested the materials on it, but you're looking within it, looking at spheres. What the hell is it made out of? Is it on the periodic table?
It's whatever Wolverine was made out of.
Adamantium?
Adamantium.
It's adamantium.
I think it's adamantium. I'm pretty sure. That's just my expert opinion by looking at a picture.
You've already given
Daily
more
Mail.
information than they have. So I'm more inclined to believe you than I am to believe this video.
I don't know if it says it in this article, and we can go to another one next, but the guy who found one of these spheres, I think it was the first sphere, was just out there with a metal detector, and he found the sphere. He claims to have become sick from this thing. And then I forget how it made it to a German lab, but somehow it made it to a German lab. That might be in this article. I forget which one and where I read it, but somehow it made it to a German lab, and now they have been studying it. But then there was like some weird thing of it disappearing for a while. The whole thing's weird, and it could be a total hoax, like most things. Like blue beam, I think, is a real idea that has been thought about within the government, and probably most governments, about, you know, the blue beam idea is like, how do we enact a new world order? How do we scare people all at once? Kind of like how the War of the Worlds story went, but for real. And, you know, they project something to the sky, possibly an alien invasion, or maybe like the second coming of Christ, but it's a fake, it's a hoax. And it's to get people to all like rally around something so they can be completely controlled. You know, that's like this globalist fever dream. So is this the guy that found it? Is that what it says?
It says David Velez El Potro.
Helped find the first sphere.
Helped find the first sphere. Now, we also saw this thing on a scale, and it weighed 99 pounds. Does he look like he's holding a 100-pound sphere to you right now?
Wait, did that thing say, was it 9.9 or 99?
I think
it's light.
I was gonna say, if it's 99 pounds, he's not chilling with it like that.
Yeah, I think it is light. From what I've read, they say it's light.
Okay.
I think that was kilograms.
Because they alluded to this thing having some kind of suspicious weight.
Yeah, and they say it's cold when you touch it, but hot when you're not touching it. It's a good story, nonetheless. Do we have any other videos from this so people can see it? The people tuning in.
There's a bunch of
people
stuff.
Studying it. So here's another one zigzagging through the sky. I think I'm gonna get another ad.
Again.
There's this guy selling us gold, dude. I'm trying to look at spheres.
Come on, man.
And this guy, I almost said his name, but I don't even want to give him any promotion.
You get nothing from us. Not you either.
Watch them be our future sponsors. All right, you know what? You got in a way.
His ad was people. I allegedly. Come on, man. All right.
So, something floating up. I think that's remote controlled. I really do think that's something that's remote controlled. It's not a balloon.
I don't know. It looks like this thing may possess anti-gravity capabilities. Hang on. I want to go back for a second here because I thought I just saw... Oh, God damn it. It's not going to let me do it. There is... This is going to be hard to point out, but there is what looks like another one in the far right corner over there. You see that in the far right corner? There's this little kind of dot over there.
There's something.
Right there. Over to the right of those power lines. There's another kind of dot in the sky. It's hard to see. But there was something else hovering there.
So, like, if I were investigating this, you need to know who's filming this, why they were filming it. Are they filming because they saw something first and then they were able to pull out the phones?
Yeah, because we're getting, like, this is
good. Good AI,
it's
good hoax.
Flying just low enough not to piss off the aviation guys.
Yep.
It's also, this guy's got a perfect overhead view. It just
land?
Went down to the ground.
Oh, this is where they actually recover it. Good.
He's breathing heavy. Okay.
Yep. Wouldn't you?
Nothing slows down.
No, I don't think I would be. I think
Would you
I'd be
go
like,
up to
oh,
it?
I'm going to go get this thing.
Would you go up to it?
Absolutely.
Yeah? You'd pick it up?
Yes.
That's wild. I don't know if I would.
I mean, if I wanted to be super, super, like, careful about it, maybe I'd pick it up in a shirt or something. But realistically, I'm like, the skeptic in me is like, someone's flying this damn thing around. Yeah. And I'm grabbing this. Yeah. You know, like, I want to go look at this thing.
You wouldn't just blow it up first.
No, I mean, that's not the first thing that comes to mind is let's destroy it. I mean, yeah, you know, you see that picture of the two Southerners that are throwing beer bottles up at the one, and it's like the last thing it sees, you know. Yeah. I'm not generally predisposition towards destroying the first thing that I see that I can't explain. More of me wants to know logical. Like what the hell it is. Yeah. You know, like I've got that natural kind of like curiosity about things like this, but
you want to deconstruct it.
Yeah, like I mean,
I'd be like, look how they are.
What are they doing?
Why are they dressed like that?
They're checking electromagnetic fields or something. I mean, he's got like a tester.
Just so happens to be the perfect size for that thing. Like, are these people known for having spheres?
I don't know, but they do. That looks like an electromagnet underneath it that maybe they're just balancing it on.
Yeah. I would love to see the X-rays.
It is kind of perfect size for that. It's almost like they had that built.
Yeah.
I don't know, guys.
Let us know what you guys think about the spheres. You know, they're in China, they're in Colombia, and we can go to the California one, which was another strange one recently, because these UFO stories are just fallen out of the sky. Every day there is something new with UFOs. Now, maybe there is something here coming to warn us. You know, earlier I said UFO stories and sightings spiked at the beginning of lockdowns when the world was shut down. But we've also talked on this show about how there's been a lot of UFO sightings around war, battle. Like the Cold War is filled with sightings of UFOs. We've heard stories about UFOs allegedly shutting down like nuclear capabilities. And look, today the president was about to give some speech to the nation, and then we heard that Kristi Noem was getting rushed to the hospital, and then we heard that he wasn't going to give that speech. He did say other things, but we didn't hear anything about that speech. So everyone being on edge about everything happening with Iran and Israel and all this. I mean, Iran, I think this is true. It's like I always say, like, be suspicious of everything we see. But it looked like it was one of their official accounts. There was them saying we're going to have a big surprise that the world will talk about for centuries. Like, what? There was another video floating around.
Yeah, he's putting 2 flagpoles in.
Yeah, that was Trump was saying that afterwards. And then there was another video coming out of Iran, supposedly, of someone, like a soldier, kind of stroking a nuclear warhead. I'm like, what is this dystopian? Meanwhile, we're inundated with UFOs. So this is from the Daily Mail. And this is another recent story, semi-recent story. I think this one might have been from like last month, but it fits in with all these things we're seeing. This one is mysterious pulsating UFO hovers over California for 15 minutes before disappearing. Okay, so it was the April 27th video taken by an unnamed resident in 29 Palms followed what appears to be a brightly lit hexagonal craft as it flew over the desert. The UFO reportedly appeared out of nowhere around 10:27 p.m. while the witness was staying at a remote cabin. Perfect place to see a UFO.
Mm-hmm.
According to the report the witness made to the National UFO Reporting Center,
New Force.
also, yep, it's right. We should get them on the show. 2 days later, the suspected spacecraft was moving very slowly and irregularly, like it was in a daze. It seemed to move arbitrarily with no clear path. This is a quote now from the New Force. The movements were jerky and at varying speeds. The witness wrote to the New Force in their report. The large object also appeared to pulsate, giving off a bright light from its edges as it moved through the sky for approximately 15 minutes. Tonight is a new moon, so it was definitely not the moon, and in any case was much brighter than even a full moon, the witness continued. The striking thing was its great brightness and irregular shape and path, they added. As the witness in 29 Palms followed the UFO, they added that the strange craft began to change shape, morphing from a six-sided object into a circle. Now, hearing that, you might remember our caller from last week, whose father, I believe it was, saw a few UFOs kind of morph into one. So it's not like we haven't heard stories like this before. Who knows what it is? Some crazy tech that we don't know about, or something visiting us from some place we don't know about. The person taking the cell phone video was the only witness at the cabin that night, so no one else was able to confirm their story. However, they declared in their report to New Force that they hadn't taken any mind-altering substances during the sighting and had clear vision the entire time. Officials at New Force tried to find an explanation for the sighting, noting that a SpaceX rocket launch had taken place that day, but that Falcon 9 took off in Florida 3 hours earlier. A previous rocket launch created a similar phenomenon over the UK in March. That bizarre shape was caused by illuminated frozen fuel expelled from the SpaceX rocket, experts revealed. The light blue spiral is formed when excess fuel that has been released from this fast-spinning rocket turns to ice. So a lot of people have confused SpaceX, or like the satellites, Starlinks, for UFOs. That's been another phenomenon happening a bunch.
I mean, I've seen 2 of those launches. That's exactly what it looks like.
It's weird, right?
The way that they move. They're super slow. They follow each other in a line, and then one by one, they just start shooting out of like the stratosphere.
Yeah,
it's really cool to watch, but it's also, if you have no idea what's going on, you're like, what the hell is happening?
Yeah, they're weird. And I understand why they're, if you haven't seen one of those before, it's definitely like, whoa, what is that?
It's definitely a sight. I'll give you that.
That is weird. So again, phone lines are open. We're going to get you guys soon. If you've had anything like this, or you have thoughts on these things or anything else, we're going to get to you guys in just a few. But maybe we'll do one more article that I saw recently, because I thought this was cool. The mysterious 1890s UFO crash in North Texas. This is from a local Austin station. It says, just before sunrise on April 17th, 1897, the small town of Aurora, Texas, was reportedly the site of a mysterious event that has since become a topic of intrigue and speculation. According to an article by local resident S.E. Hayden, published in the Dallas Morning News, an unidentified flying object described as a cigar-shaped airship collided with a windmill on the property of Judge J.S. Proctor. Great name. The crash scattered debris across several acres, and the pilot, described as not of this world, was said to have died in the incident. The wreckage was reportedly collected and disposed of in a nearby well. It's interesting. While the pilot's remains were buried with Christian rites in the Aurora Cemetery. A stone marker was placed at the grave, but it has since been removed. Over the years, the site has become a point of interest for UFO enthusiasts and researchers. The Aurora incident is often cited as one of the earliest recorded UFO crashes in American history, predating the more famous Roswell incident by nearly 50 years. However, the authenticity of the event has been a subject of debate. Some skeptics argue that the story was a hoax concocted by Hayden to attract attention to the declining town. It's a good hoax. Despite the skepticism, investigations into the site have uncovered intriguing evidence. In 2008, during a History Channel investigation, researchers opened the sealed well and discovered pieces of metal containing high levels of aluminum. While the findings were inconclusive, they reignited interest in the incident. Today, the Aurora Cemetery features a Texas Historical Commission marker acknowledging the incident. I love stories like that. There's a lot of old UFO crash stories from around this country. There's some back from where I'm from in New York, obviously the Roswell one, this Texas one. And I think it's just, I like the older ones, even though, okay, let's take the hoax thing and put that to the side for a sec. It's interesting to have those types of stories that predate a lot of the technology we have today. But, there are people like when airships were a thing, people were then seeing lots of airships, right? In the sky they couldn't explain. So the technology of the day was still weird to people, just as today, we might not know that what we're seeing is actually technology. We just don't know exists yet. But the hoax thing is also for real. And that reminds me to bring it back to, we were talking about Alex from Alex Jones real quick, when InfoWars, the town he's from in Texas has become a tourist attraction because the people there believe it's called Rockwall, Texas. People there believe the rock wall they found beneath the town was built by giants. In antediluvian, I think that's how you say that word, pre-flood time, that they uncovered this cave of a giant. And I think they found like a giant shoe and a giant axe. I'm like, what are the odds? I went to write a story about him, and I was like, I'll go to his hometown. It wasn't too far from Dallas. And I'm going there just to check out like what kind of place creates Alex Jones. And I'm like, oh, in the center of town is this wall that they think giants built. People think that's a hoax as well, just like this story. People think it was created and all this stuff was put there. But I think giants are real for sure. So I want to believe that story. But I love a good hoax as well. I think they're great. I think it's a very American thing to do, and it's great for tourism. But I think we should get some callers. We got some people.
Yeah.
Sick.
Yep. So I want to bring in Craig Williams first, because I know he was in line last night.
Thank you for waiting, sir.
And we'll get him on here.
Awesome.
Craig, you are live if you want to unmute.
Craig, are you there? Have the spheres taken you?
Spheres took his microphone, I think.
Microphone abduction.
All right.
You are
there he
muted,
is.
Craig.
Hey, can you hear
What's
me?
up? Yes, sir.
Yeah,
what's up,
man?
Hey, sorry about that, guys.
No worries. What's going on?
Excuse me.
What's going on, sir?
1 second. Sorry.
Oh, yeah. And for those who are waiting, we're going to try to get to everyone we can tonight. If not, we will be back tomorrow at 10 o'clock to take your calls.
All right. Hey, how you guys doing tonight? I hope everybody's doing all right.
Good, man. I feel good that it didn't hit a deer earlier.
Yeah.
I've been seeing them around here a lot, man. It's very weird.
Yeah.
'Tis the season.
I'm living in Ohio, but I have a couple things I want to touch on, man. I don't have any alien stories, but I do have a couple interesting things that I heard recently. Was that I guess when Aleister Crowley, I guess he had contacted a being.
Mm-hmm.
I think his name was Lamb.
Yeah.
And when he had drawn the picture of him, he looked like a gray alien.
Yes, right.
But nobody had ever seen anything like that back then. And people have come to believe that ever since he's created that, he like opened a window and everything. We've been seeing him more ever since.
Yep. Yeah, that is very bizarre. I believe they also, it was last year, when we as in NASA launched rockets into the solar eclipse, and it happened to be on the anniversary on the day he communicated with that demon alien thing. If it wasn't that demon alien thing, it was another one he was talking to. But it lined up.
I know there was another one that he said that had given him like the Book of Law.
Right. It might have been that one. Either way, I think he had a lot to do with a lot of weird things coming into this realm.
Yeah, he was a creepy dude, man. He had some weird beliefs, man. I was listening to, I think it was Camp Gagnon.
Okay.
Yeah, and I was listening to that, and it's like the things this dude was doing with women and stuff. It was just crazy. Like, and then they said that Led Zeppelin, that I think Jimmy Page bought his house.
Yeah, I've heard that.
And it was a mansion, and I think it was in Scotland.
Yeah. He had a lot of connections to a lot of people in power.
Yeah, it's nuts.
It was nuts, and I think his brother was one of the like big time eugenicists as well.
I think so.
A lot of weird stuff in that family. I don't know as much as I should about Crowley. Like every time I talk about him, I'm like, oh, I mean to go down that rabbit hole. But every time he comes up, I'm like, shoot, these people are insane. And real quick, I just want to shout out everyone who is joining us now on Rumble. Thank you for joining us from Timcast. We're glad you're here. We've been talking about UFOs, spheres, things pulsating over California. And now we're talking about Aleister Crowley and talking to a demon. And all the weird things he's done. So yeah, that's a weird one. So you think that him communicating with that entity might have been like the beginning of the end for us?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know, man. But I've never been. I feel like I've never been cool enough to see any. I'm not cool enough to see a UFO, man. But I grew up in Rhode Island.
Okay, Rhode Island's a weird place, though.
Yeah, what I was gonna say is, I come from an Italian Portuguese background. And my family grew up like where I was born in a place called Fox Point, and it was on the east side of Providence. And we were down the road from John Brown, from like Brown University. RISD was down the road. And my family was very, very superstitious or whatever. And this house we lived in when I was a kid. This is more of like a ghost. I don't know what it is, but I'll tell you, it's pretty cool, but it's nerve wracking in a way, but. So when I was a kid, my brother and I, like 3 years apart, my sister, we were all born pretty close, but like always like two years apart. But my brother was in school at the time, and we used to have this basset hound that used to bark. And there's like crazy tunnels that go directly underneath all over the east side of Providence. They say that John Brown went through there with the slaves and stuff.
Whoa.
So one day my mom says to go put my Matchbox cars away, and I go down the hallway, and as I come back, I just happen to go in her room. And when I went in her room, there was this woman in the corner, and she didn't have like an inviting look on her face. I'll never forget it, because I screamed. So my mom like ran in there, like I fell to the ground. She was telling me to come to the corner. And that's where the dog used to bark all the time. So like my parents, I was so like deathly afraid to go in that room after. I wouldn't go in that room later on. And my family ended up moving out of that house. It was like, I couldn't do anything. I would dream about this woman. And when we had left, we had moved away. And like years later, my father passed away. My father died when I was 24. And when my dad was on his way out, we were in the room, and my father, as he was going, he was like started freaking out about this old woman that was coming to tell him to come with her.
Whoa.
And he started freaking out, and I said, "What the?" It caught me off guard, because I was like, "How come nobody ever said anything about that?" And then my aunt said that he always saw that when he was younger.
Whoa.
I was like, what the hell? Like, I never really put the two together. And then my friend married this girl, and I'm very skeptical about a lot of things. Like Brandon, dude, I don't believe anything unless I see it.
Right. Boy.
So, but I ended up like, he was my best friend. So like one night I was there, and I come downstairs, and it's like 4 a.m, dude. She's like wide awake. And I'm like, she's like, "Hey Craig, how you doing?" And I'm like, I just stood there like she was wide awake, just hanging out. And my boy was on the floor, and she's like, "I never sleep. They're always talking to me." So I sat down. She was like, we just started talking, and she's like, this woman had followed me around and my whole life. I've always had these things going on in my life, like weird things. Like I've just seen weird things. And my family, being Italian and superstitious, they always said you got to watch out, because they'll put the malloc on you. People put the malloc on you. It's like a curse.
Right. Yep.
And it's supposedly like an old woman. Whoa. And that's what they said. Like, and this girl had told me she was attached to my father for years.
Whoa.
So when I left, I never believed it, dude. So here's the crazy thing, Shane. I was I was drinking a lot for years. I was a born Catholic. I was raised Catholic. I was a altar boy at the Portuguese Catholic Church. I knew the masses in Portuguese. I can't tell you any of them anymore. But when my father died, I flipped God off. So when I started coming back to church, dude, and one day I was sitting in church, and the priest had said there was somebody in the crowd that had been afflicted. And as I was sitting in the back pew, because I was way in the back, there was this girl up front, and she kept looking at me, turning around. Like she would turn around in her seat, dude, and look right at me. Whoa. And smile. And I said to the girl that I was with, I was like, "What is the chick looking at?" And for a second, dude, I saw that woman, that old woman from when I was a kid. And that's crazy enough that was the person that the priest was talking about. What? He was sitting there telling she was possessed, he said.
Whoa. That's so wild.
Yeah. Needless to say, I'm a Christian today, man. I've been like 5 years sober now.
Oh, amazing, man. Congrats. That's incredible. That's incredible. That is some story. My goodness. Did the old woman look a certain way? Like, you know, like was she from a certain period?
Because I want to say I was like 5. So like my picture of her back then was like she looked like I don't know, how do you say it, like decomposing.
Yeah.
Oh, that's
like,
fun.
Yeah, like a rotting specter.
Like she wasn't inviting, dude. It was like she was wearing like the Victorian clothes, but I've had dreams of her too. Like she's come in my dreams at times.
Right. That's scary stuff. That is scary stuff.
No.
I mean, so my wife is Greek, very Greek, and a little Sicilian as well. And a lot of those, like those curses and the things they talk about in Greece, very similar to the things they talk about in Italy. And there's people in her family or extended friends and family that they swear up and down that these curses are real and that they've been possessed or attached by something. And, you know, there's like old stories that I've heard from her extended family that's still in Greece about like old witches in the village that they will never like let them hold anyone's baby. They try to hold a baby and it's like that alone is bad luck. Like never let them hold the baby. They're wild. They're wild. And some of those old ladies actually also talk about letting themselves get bit by scorpions because it helps them live longer. You heard of that?
Yeah, my grandmother used to talk about gypsies.
Yeah.
Like they were right from Italy. Like my aunt Conchetta swore that there was something came out of a lake once to try to get her. It was some creature in a lake in Italy.
That's wild.
It's
creature in a lake.
But what's crazy though is like when we moved, my father worked for Electric Boat. He designed nuclear subs.
Wow.
So he moved us to North Kingstown. I don't know if you ever heard of it, but it's next to Exeter. They got all sorts of vampires and everything out there.
No.
And my brother lived down the road from the Conjuring house in Smithfield.
Shoot. Oh, whoa.
So like I moved out there, dude. I just never really like believed in any of it. Like we would go to places like that all the time out there, and I never saw anything. I never, except for that one specific woman. And I always try to, like that guy said last night, I always try to rationalize it because I'm into horror movies and all that dumb shit, you know?
Yeah, same. I know, but sometimes you just can't shake it off. And you're like, I don't know what to do with this thing, but I experienced it. It sounds crazy, but I don't know what to tell you. But Providence has its own like crazy history too, you know, like the pirates and stuff that were there. And I think there's a pirate graveyard somewhere near the center of Providence and stuff that I always thought was weird. I went to a wedding there. A friend had a wedding there, and they were like, "Oh, there's a pirate graveyard here." That's cool. I love
lots of crazy shit out there, dude.
Yeah. It's a cool area. I really love it up there. I think I have a friend on Twitter up there making pizza. Eric, if he's listening, it might be Eric making pizza in Providence. It's awesome, but I love it up there. But that's a really wild story, man. I appreciate you sharing that.
I appreciate you guys letting me call in, man.
Yeah, man, of course. If you got anything else happening, let us know.
So I got to tell you one more thing.
Oh, yeah.
I got something to comment about last night when you were talking about Tom O'Neill's book.
Yeah.
So that guy that you were talking about, the guy that he was in the Air Force.
Jimmy Shaver.
Yeah, I want to, from what Tom O'Neill was saying, was that they brought him back to the base before they released him to the sheriffs.
Right.
He had told, when they released him to the sheriffs, he told the sheriffs that he was abused by his aunt, and the girl reminded him of his aunt.
That's right.
And when they did their investigation, he never was abused by his aunt. And when it come out that Jolly West was working in that base, and he was a part of a program where he thought he was under experiments for his migraines.
Mm-hmm. That's right.
And then Jolly West later said that he figured out how to, like, I think, put false memories on people.
Terrifying.
Yeah.
That is terrifying. That's right. Thank you so much for that context. It's important. It's a crazy book, right?
That book had, dude, I was dating a girl when that book came out, and that was like the first time that girl actually like listened to a whole thing like that. Like, it was so fascinating.
Yeah, man, it's so good.
Said you could still go on with it.
Yeah, I know. I want to re-listen to it because I feel like there's things I missed. And I did read. If you like that book, I recommend Poisoner in Chief about MK Ultra. It is written by a New York Times bestseller, so it's you got to keep that in mind. But you can right, but like it is got really good information in it, and you can look up, go on your own tangents and rabbit holes after reading it. But that's a great book to read after chaos for sure.
Definitely.
Awesome, man. Well, thanks for calling in.
All right, man. God bless, guys.
You too, man.
Thanks, man.
Awesome. That is wild. I had dogs all my life, and on the farm, and every one of those dogs, when we were walking them at night, they'd always bark in the same direction. Some of those dogs didn't know each other. Like, it'd be like 12 years later, and the same dog, different dogs are barking the same direction. And I was like, what is going on over the hill, in the darkness?
I mean, we had some of that stuff in suburban Chicago, but like, they knew what direction the other ones were in because they would bark at each other, half the night. So like, it's one of those things where they would just run outside immediately, run to that point of the gate, and just start barking to see if they got a response. So that kind of thing did happen.
Yeah, I love that. Well, let's do another caller if we got him.
Yep.
Sick.
Next up, we got Elias.
All right.
And you, sir, are also muted. If you can unmute, you are on Inverted World Live. Welcome.
Hello. We are haunted by the mute button.
Yeah, it automatically mutes you when you come into the meeting.
That's
you have to shut it off.
Yeah, I'm gonna start reminding people of that. I will start reminding people of that early on. What's up, man? How are you?
Oh, wow. Fantastic. Thanks for having me on the show. Big fan.
Thank you. Thanks for being here. What's going on?
So I don't have a UFO story, but I have probably the wildest Bigfoot story I've ever heard.
Cool.
So I'll go ahead and tell you all about it.
Awesome.
So back in 2019, I moved to Redding, California, which is like way north California. It's pretty much as north as you can get before you get to Oregon, right? So we're about like maybe 25 miles from Mount Shasta. And I was working at this remodeling company, and it's super wilderness up here, so a lot of great camping, really nice lakes. And anyhow, I was telling, I hadn't been working for that company very long. And I was telling a coworker, where's some good spots to go camping, fishing. And there was another coworker that was near us working on a computer, and she was listening to us. And I go and I make the joke. I go, oh yeah, but is it safe? I don't want to get attacked by Bigfoot, joking. Mm-hmm. And a lot of people up here kind of roll their eyes at any kind of Bigfoot talk. And that's pretty much what I got, and then I just shrugged it off. And then later, like a day later, this other coworker comes up to me, and she goes, hey, so you believe in Bigfoot? And I go, oh, I really don't know. It's just an internet thing, right? Mm. And she goes, well, I got a story for you. So she proceeds to tell me about how she, I want to say back either in 2018 or early 2019, that she was living in Crescent City. So that's on the coast. And her dad, so she's living there with her mom and sister. And her dad lives about 2 hours north in Oregon, which is Grants Pass. And the only way you can get there is on Highway 199, which is like straight through the wilderness, right? And it's like a 2 hour drive. So her dad ends up passing away, and so the services are going to be held up there. So her and her sister and her mom and her aunt as well, they make the trip from the coast, driving inland into Oregon, and they go to the funeral services. They do all that, and then on the way back, so they're in separate vehicles, and the mom is driving her ex-husband who had passed, driving his white Escalade. So I guess she left it to him or something. And on the way back, she's driving, with her sister, so the aunt, I guess you'll say. And it's you're driving like hillsides along these ravines and such. You're out in the wilderness, and it's easy to get separated if you're driving in a group, because some people are going faster than others, and so the rest of the party got separated, and this is after the services. So anyhow, my coworker, she says that she comes around a corner and she doesn't see the mom and them, and so they must have sped up, so she's not sure how far ahead that they are. And then she comes around the corner, and then she sees smoke and such, and the vehicle went off the road, and like it broke through like through the railing, and it's like caught like in between trees and such. And so everybody's freaking out. So they go there, and my friend, her husband, just the whole party, everybody gets out to try and help them. And they're unconscious, and ambulance show up, and the highway patrol, everybody shows up pretty darn quick, because they're not too far away from Grants Pass is what it sounds like. And they're pulling the vehicle up, and they get the mom and the aunt up. And when the mom comes to, and she's an older woman, she's like almost 70, like 68 or something. When she comes to, she's screaming, and they're from the Philippines. And so she's screaming like in Tagalog, like screaming in Tagalog. And the daughter, my cohort, is trying to calm her down, and then she starts saying, oh, I saw a monster, I saw a monster. Wow. And like the paramedics and everybody is like trying to get the oxygen on her and everything, and they're like, what? Like, she's freaking out, and they're trying to calm her down. And the daughter's just like, oh my God. And they sedate her and everything. Thankfully, the mom was okay. She just, they're just bruised up, Right. And anyhow, so once they get to the hospital, and, everybody's calmed down, the mom's doing okay. My coworker, she's there with her husband, and, pretty much all the family, or whomever could fit in the room. They're talking to the mom, and she says that she came around the corner, and that the aunt was like kind of sleeping. And as she came around the corner, she saw this giant monster in the road, and that it was like a deer in the headlights type situation. And this was during the day. This is not like in the middle of the night, but it is kind of shady, when you're driving through the mountains. And she said that it was huge, that it was at least like 8 or 9 feet tall, and that it looked like a giant man, but she kept calling it a monster. And she said that it looked like a giant man, and that you could see its face. And that my friend says, you mean a Bigfoot? Or my coworker says, you mean a Bigfoot, to the mom? And the mom doesn't know what a Bigfoot is. You know,
Right.
she's an elderly woman. She's, you know, she's not into that kind of stuff. And she's like, what? And so she says, well, it looked like a giant man, like it had a man's face. And but it looked like it had, like, you know, kind of like its hair was tied in a ponytail. And she said that it was as wide as the vehicle, just about, you know, and they're driving an Escalade SUV. And she said that it was swaying kind of like it was, you know, preparing to dodge the vehicle, but didn't know which way to go. And she was just like caught in herself driving, was just kind of like caught in the fright of seeing it. And she hit it, boom. And that's what caused her to veer off and break through the side rails and go off the road. And so my coworker, you know, gets out her phone and shows her this, you know, like pictures on Google of, you know, Sasquatch. And she goes, that's it. That's what I saw. And she says, yeah, even down to where like you could see the bare feet, you know, there's no hair on the feet. It's just like the hair stops. But she said it was looked just like that. Just the hairiest, tallest man. And that its shoulders were so wide, and it was just enormous. And she says that's what she hit. And so I was just blown away. I was just like, I couldn't believe it. And and you know, of course I was just like, oh, like, I'm skeptical too, right? You know, I'm just like, I'm new up here, maybe somebody's pulling my leg, you know.
Right.
And but she swears by it. She's like, yeah, you know, her mom's okay, all of that. And so then later, like a few days later, like her husband comes into the work, and she's in the middle of a meeting. And so, you know, I just, you know, I introduced myself, and then I asked him about it, you know, and he goes, oh, dude, he goes, it is true. He goes, everybody was so freaked out after when, you know, they realized that it was a Bigfoot, you know. And you know, you were just going on, you know, saying, yeah, it's true, it's unbelievable, you know, we can't believe it, you know. And I was just like, wow, it was just something pretty amazing. But here's one little part that is like a supernatural aspect to it, right? So my coworker, her dad, who had passed away, he prized this white Escalade SUV, right? This is the one that was in the accident that hit the Bigfoot. So his nephew, uh, like a week or two later, after the funeral and all the Bigfoot business, he doesn't even know about the Bigfoot business. The nephew, he calls my coworker, and he says, I've had the wildest dream. He goes, and I had to call you about it. And so she's like, okay, well, what happened? So he says that he had a dream that her dad, the one who passed away, came to him on a white horse and was saying, they killed my horse. They killed my horse.
Whoa.
And he knows nothing about the accident. He just knows that his uncle had died.
Right.
And she goes, are you serious? And so the nephew didn't know that the uncle used to joke amongst his immediate family, you know, with the daughter and the ex-mom and so on. And that he called his white Escalade his stallion.
Dang.
And so
Dang.
so I thought that was pretty crazy, that, like, you know, like from beyond the grave, the uncle reached out to the nephew to let him know what had happened. And of course she told the nephew, or her cousin, the Bigfoot story, and he was just blown away too. But I was like, wow,
Holy
it's like
crap.
so crazy.
That's amazing. What a story. So you're saying they hit the monster?
Yeah, they
And
hit the Bigfoot.
was
Like,
there-
that's what caused her to go off the road.
Was there anything
And
like on the car?
one other thing, so you know, the vehicle gets towed and gets impounded and all that business, right? So when they went to go pick it up, she was like, yeah, it looked like they hit a tree. But when they went to, you know, help the mom and see if they're okay, the vehicle was not impacted directly in the front. on the grill by a tree. It was wedged between trees. And so they're like, well, okay, then what made this? And of course, when they, law enforcement, what are they going to say? When they tell the law enforcement, well, my mom says I hit a Bigfoot, they just like, again, everybody rolls their eyes and dismisses
Wow.
it. And and the cops, all they could say was like, your mom probably fell asleep at the wheel,
Right.
And so my coworker is just like, well, what do? You're left with this story and nobody seems to care.
Imagine if there was hair left behind on the car.
I know, right? That's what I said too. I go, did you guys check for hair? They go, no, it didn't occur to them, for anything. And the vehicle ended up getting salvaged, and so that, everything just gets wrapped up so neatly and taken away,
Right,
because
right.
it's a total.
That's wild.
And all they're left with is her mom telling this traumatizing story.
Do you have a history of talking about Bigfoot?
Do I have a history about
Yeah,
talking about Bigfoot?
like before all of this, like, were you interested in Bigfoot? Do you think of it often?
No, not at all. In fact, you see like those whatever pops on the History Channel,
Right.
and I might watch it, but I'm not into it. I never believed it was true, really. I just go, oh, maybe there's a gorilla out there or something.
Right.
But since I heard this story, I was just like, wow, this is from, this is a remodeling business. These are pretty serious, clean cut people here,
Mm-hmm.
and we're all in our, late 40s. So it's like, it just didn't seem, logical to start, telling tall tales.
So, like, I just want to add
Instead.
the to make it weirder than to me is that you not being like a Bigfoot enthusiast, randomly making a Bigfoot comment to a coworker who has a Bigfoot story that's as wild as that one.
Well, the only reason why I made that was because, again, this is like, how they say like Northern California and
Right.
Oregon. I was just trying to make, a little, icebreaker joke
Right.
amongst the coworkers,
And little did you know.
Yeah, really. And and the joke didn't even go over well because
Dang it.
I guess they must hear it up here so often that, again, all I got was rolled eyes, and I'm just like, okay, is this
Wow.
mic on?
Wow. That is an incredible story. Wow. Thank you for calling and sharing that.
Thank you for having me on, guys.
Of course. Of course. Have a great night.
Thanks, you too. Bye-bye.
That's a wild one. That's a
Yeah,
wild one.
I mean,
I'd imagine if there's like a fox molder, dipping in real quick to the car crash to take the fur.
yeah.
So like no one else can find out.
I'm
'Cause,
on
like, they know.
I'm on the side of half the guys in chat that I'm reading here, that are just like, why the hell didn't you immediately check the front of the car for blood or
Well,
hair
because
samples?
maybe they were unconscious, right?
I mean,
and
well,
like all messed up.
Yeah, I could see that. I mean, the car's in the ditch, whatever.
Yeah.
But
You're
like,
wedged between trees. I could see not doing it. I mean,
oh well, absolutely.
But-
I could see both sides, but like, especially because she didn't know what it was,
Right,
apparently.
right,
So like,
true.
I can see that, but
Right.
like, it's me personally. I'm getting out. Like, damn the car.
Yeah,
If I think I
honestly.
just saw, let alone struck Bigfoot with my car, I'm getting out of the damn car
Right.
and I'm going to find the body.
oh yeah, like you in the sphere.
I am gonna
you in the
damn
sphere.
the car. Insurance
you
will
in the
handle the car.
Bigfoot.
It's fine. Either way, I'm paying a deductible.
Because he's
Probably.
got to
I
be
don't
walking
care.
slower now because
Yeah,
he's been hit.
He's either wounded or he's running or
Right.
he's both.
Right.
you know,
Yeah.
and-
Maybe it's not even fur. It could have been Bigfoot blood.
Yeah.
What could you even do with that? These people like Colossus Sciences are going to be making Bigfoot
Bigfoot
clones.
danger, if anything. Damn it all. I don't care. Just
Bigfoot
give me
danger.
some kind of evidence here
Yep.
that I can take to the bank.
That's a good one. That's a good one. It's also like Harry and Henderson. Don't they hit the
Yeah.
Sasquatch in that one?
Multiple
Which
times.
That is a story that haunts me.
At the end of it, he just straight up slaps him in the face, and I'm like, why? Don't slap
Oh
him.
man! Well, that was a good one, especially the addition of the dream in the end with the white horse. I like that the dead father shows up in the dream, not so much worried about the Bigfoot, but more worried about the car. Like, my poor.
Yeah,
Stella.
that's crazy.
Crazy. Awesome. Well, thank you for that call, and let's jump to another caller.
All right.
How we got some people lined up?
Yeah.
Sweet.
So, why do I feel like I've had to do this before? This is either John, Gian, or Jean. So I am once again apologizing if I didn't get any of those right. But I feel like that happened before. Hello.
Hello.
What's up?
Not too much. How's it going?
Good, man. Thanks for calling
I need
in.
I need you to correct me really quick on your first name.
Gian.
All right.
Gian. Perfect.
1 out of 3. We're good. I'll remember that in the future. What's going on, man?
Not much. So there's 2 ideas, Shane, I kind of want to ask you about.
Yeah.
One is an experience of mine, and the other is something that I think we all experience, which is, I guess, basically morality.
Yeah.
So which of those 2 do you think sounds more interesting?
They both do. Let's do morality.
Okay. So I guess I'm very curious on your opinion. Like, do you believe in good and evil? I guess is a good way to just kind of start the conversation.
Of course.
And why? I guess would be the follow-up question.
I believe in God, and I've been a Christian now for 3 years. But before that, I thought I believed in good and evil. Growing up, and even when I was an atheist and agnostic, I believed that people do evil things. But I remember like the day I realized there's so much evil in the world. It was like the day they arrested Epstein, and it was just a beautiful blue sky. And I just had this thought walking around in the woods on the farm where I was at, that is the most heinous evil stuff to do to children. And on the flip side, I also thought there must be the good to balance out that evil, because I see that balance in nature. So that was like the beginning of me being like, it's just that simple. There's good and there's evil, and that is what's operating underneath everything going on in humanity today.
And what about you, Brandon?
I mean, everybody knows I'm not religious, but I have stated before that I do believe good and evil are things. I don't necessarily believe that they are always, if not ever, tied to religion. But I believe in them only because I have seen both of them with my own eyes. I've seen the darker parts of people and the darker parts of the world, and I've seen the good in people and the good in the world. So it's very easy for me to believe things that I can confirm and have seen, and I do believe I have seen both.
So my opinion is that morality is learned, because when you look at cultures in different areas, there's different moral standards.
Sure.
So do you agree with that, at least, that morality is something that's learned, or do you think morality is inherent and is something that is...
Well, I think we're all born sinners, and we're all born super flawed. So I think this is actually an evil world, and we have to earn grace. And your surroundings can certainly affect how you are, but there is, I think, an objective morality that's across the entire world. That should be a baseline for morality in terms of, good and evil, in terms of murder, crime, theft, hurting the innocent, stuff like that.
Mm-hmm. I have a hard time accepting that humans are not natural, because we talk about the natural world and what the world would look like without humans and how humans are perverse. But I see humans as a product of nature. So I think the way that we view morality, human on human conflict, I think that is something that is like new in terms of evolution, or like how different species interact with each other or whatever. Because a lion killing a gazelle, do you prescribe morality to that, like the killing of one animal?
Because I think we are a special, because the way I view it through religion is that we are created by God in His image, and that animals, although that is a survival thing, I don't attach any morality to animals and what they do, because it's just that's their animal behavior, whereas we're on a higher level as humans. So, you know, of course we could talk about defense and the need for survival, which clearly we need as humans, but it's different, because then, you know, it's like lions aren't serial killers the way other, you know, humans who are deranged stalk and hunt and kill other humans. So yeah, that's my take on that.
Interesting. I think lions are just as serial killer as a human is a serial killer.
Sure, but wouldn't you be more inclined to agree that that's more of a survival natural basis? Like, I mean, you know, and I'm not saying we've been, you know, my take is not we've been educated by religion or time, but period, just we have grown intellectually over our evolution over the years, and that is what brings us to that higher level, that higher standard. And you know the difference between killing something for survival, killing something to eat, and killing something just out of rage or lust or something sinful, as Shane would say. For me, that natural survival instinct is always going to be there. You know, if a mother has to defend her child, she's going to go to whatever lengths she can to either protect the child or end the threat. That's just a natural survivability thing for me. And I feel like that's what all wild animals are, is they are just living on this instinctual level. It's the same reason a deer either runs towards Shane's car or doesn't run towards Shane's car. Right. You know, it's a reaction. It's a defensive mechanism. But killing a person in cold blood or in a crime of passion even is you know, either premeditated or right on the spot. And either way, you know the difference in what you're doing unless you are mentally ill.
So is what you're saying that if your view is that we have a product of nature, that we kind of are all operating, us and the animals, on this morality thing? And like, do you know about like the ideas of free will versus determinism? Does this fall into your theory?
I think I know about the ideas, and yeah, go ahead. Continue.
Free will would be like, I think that comes from God. We have this ability to choose, make our choices for ourselves. But that's a whole other argument we won't get too much into, just because like you could then talk about how if you believe in God, God then sees every possible path you can take. So
kind of also you have free will. Choosing your path for you, because he knows which one you should take.
But there's infinite ones, but maybe he doesn't maybe he doesn't make you choose a path, but there's infinite types of paths you could be, and each one of those have been determined. But that's I still just think there's free will. But then determinism is people who think that everything's laid out, there's just one path, and no matter what you do, that was just what you were bound to do. And that some people who believe in determinism even think people who are murderers or child predators shouldn't be treated as badly as they are in the society. And that is an extreme view of, I'm not saying all determinists think that, but they think that's just, it's their nature, which is why I asked you that. And they are like, well, they shouldn't be ostracized like from society because that's just their nature, which I disagree with. You know, I think there is something wrong, whether it's a choice they made or some imbalance or just possession, some evil thing going on. Like that is a genuinely bad thing that needs to be removed from society. And, you know, however you want to interpret that, there's multiple ways of doing that. But that's my take on that. And I also think the difference between us and animals is that we do know what is right, the difference between right and wrong, and that the animals don't need to know that. I mean, you can train animals to do certain things, but like these wild animals, they don't really, I don't think, need to know right versus wrong. They just need to know how to survive, how to feed their family, make it to the next day, and that's that. But yeah, tell me more.
So I think your questions align perfectly with kind of my thought process. And to keep me from confusing myself, I'll just focus on your one question of free will. So when we make decisions, sometimes it's the conscious mind, sometimes it's the non-conscious mind. Those two parts kind of go back and forth in the process of decision making when it comes down to like the very
right
instantaneous, like seconds, like the really small seconds.
hands on the wheel. Yeah.
Right. So because of that, I think that free will exists while you are thinking about your actions. I think it's something you can exercise in a sense. I think you do not exercise free will when you react without thinking. I think you exercise free will when you think before reacting. And that's the idea of reacting based on your history, your perception on the world, your preconceived notions. It's not necessarily free will from God or anything like that. It's free will from your bias.
Right. But thankfully, as humans, we can break that mold of our surroundings and become something else, and recognize that maybe the place we grew up, or the people who raised us, or the people around us as we grew up, were wrong or just not teaching us the right stuff. And, we can change that. Whereas animals, I could probably only change that if humans have entered their habitat and are hunting them and they have to deal with that, or they've been captured and taken to a zoo or something. Whereas, people who grew up in certain neighborhoods that are really bad, they can continue living that way for sure because it's all they know. There's other people who realize like this is not the way people should live, and they change their lives, they move, they've realized right versus wrong, that maybe the way they grew up was promoting a certain lifestyle that was unhealthy. And doesn't have to, we don't have to take religion into this. It just comes down to like, if I keep living this way, I'm going to die, or I'm going to not, never have a family, or never have any success, never start that small business, never own a house, stuff like that. So we have that ability to like change our lives and learn from the mistakes and the bad things that we've had in our history, in our communities.
Mm-hmm. So I think the best way to deal with conflict is to focus on human needs, because I think all human needs are universal.
Like the basic ones, right?
When we look at a serial killer, you can look at the beginning of their life when they're born to the point where we find out whatever information we have about them. And I think the behavior that they normalize is learned. That's not for someone that is like actually a sociopath. I'm saying like for most people that think that like murder is okay. For example, I think behavior is learned, and that goes from the beginning of birth.
But with the serial killers, like, who is someone teaching them that, or is that just something that they're born with?
Well, I would probably agree in a sense of I don't know that you can be born with hereditary traits or instinctual traits to want to murder out of liking it or being demented. I kind of get where you're going with this. It seems like it's something that evolved in that person's mind over time, not something that they were born with,
I think it's different. Yeah. I don't think you could say it all for all of them, because there are some serial killers who were from a young age. Like we talk about Ed Kemper, he murdered really young, and had fantasies very young. And there's other people who had, as far as we know, no inclinations to fantasies, at least outwardly, or even in hidden diaries. And something happened later on, we don't know what, or some chemical imbalance. But I think it's different for a lot of them, because they're all similar in many ways, but different in many ways.
Because you've got all these different examples. You've got Ed Gein,
Ed Gein,
Jeffrey Dahmer, Crimes of Passion.
Yep.
He was physically in love with these humans.
Yep.
And then you've got Charles Manson, who did this out of religion. Now you can argue that his cultist following were taught that this was acceptable, that this was okay. And you've even heard the interviews where they said that they were doing it for God. They would do anything for God. Sadie, I think her name was, she really believed that it wasn't a crime to murder these people as long as she was doing it out of love.
Well, yeah, they were so indoctrinated.
Absolutely.
And hypnotized by Manson, who, if you've read Chaos, was hypnotized by the CIA and was totally MK Ultra'd and taught to do those things that they did to him, to this cult, and he was being monitored. And that whole other tangent we don't have to get into, but he was certainly put them under a spell, and he didn't do the killing. He sent them in to do it. He might have done others, because there was the La Bianca house as well, but. Yeah, they're also different. We talked about Herbert Mullen yesterday, who he was schizophrenic. In his schizophrenia, it tweaked it so where he thought he had to save the world, or save California rather, by killing people to alleviate the weight of people, so the state wouldn't sink into the ocean.
I do think mental disability and delusion do play a big factor in a lot of these things. That for me is one common denominator that I can find with a lot of these things.
Yeah,
But,
it could be like what the parents were doing, you know,
yeah,
when the
the
mom
way
was
that they were
pregnant,
treated when they were raised,
how they
something
were
that happened to
treated.
them when they were kids, whether they
Yep.
were bullied in high school, last
Yep.
picked for kickball. I mean, you name it. And yes, it is an Alkaline Trio song. That's totally correct. Great song. They're from Chicago. I love them. Thank you for calling that out.
Yeah, good shout.
So
Love that.
I think the argument can be made for both, man. It's a very, very interesting topic because, you know, it really does seem like it can be, you know, just a complete mental disability thing, or in certain senses of religion and things like that, and crimes of passion and stuff like that, that can be learned inherently, you know, even based off of just experiences that I've had. I don't believe that a person is born with a natural instinct to want to mass murder.
So let's bring it back to the beginning then, and maybe expand on it just a bit more. Do you not then believe in good and evil at all, or like how does that work in your theory?
So I do not believe in good and evil.
Okay.
I believe people act in a way that they think will provide them the best results. And I think a lot of times they're incorrect and the results actually are counterintuitive. They produce the opposite results from what they want. However, that's the strategy that they've learned to deal with that situation. So that's their go-to. And I think that's why people repeat self-deprecating behaviors. And I want to clarify, what I'm saying is not to justify behavior or to say that people who harm other people are not harming other people. What I'm saying is that a person is not good or bad. Actions they take could be good or bad. And there's a difference in the way we speak when we're talking about a person versus their actions.
Yeah, I mean, in some instances for sure, and I can see what you're saying, but I like, how do you then, if I'm interpreting this theory correctly, you're basically saying that everyone's morality, which is, there might not be any in this theory, but everyone's decision making is so subjective that even the things that might appear evil to someone like me is an objective decision they made that has a bad outcome, but in their mind was meant to just get them to the next whatever the goal they needed. So kind of like, correct me if I'm wrong, that bad and good decision making sterilizes the stuff, you know, the harm. I know what you're saying. Like, you're not saying harming is bad, but doesn't it sort of sterilize the crimes that might happen when these people who think they're not doing bad things do bad things?
So I hear what you're saying.
And then, like, is there?
I think a good way to
Yeah, sorry, keep going.
give you an example of something evil, obviously evil, that, you know, everybody would agree with. And I'm not going to defend something evil. I'm going to explain what I'm talking about.
Abducting a child and killing it.
Okay. So what I'm talking about is somebody who abducts a child and kills it. They have an unmet need. And the way that they are meeting that need is by abducting a child and killing it.
But that
obviously
need is
that
evil.
strategy is wrong. And I think that's wrong. What I'm saying is that I believe there are other strategies that person would be okay with that can meet the same need.
Like what?
Well, it depends on what the need is. And that's really hard to identify, and kind of goes into, like, it's something that I struggle with, which is identifying the language around needs.
Because, like, to me,
that's how I view humans.
But to me, I think it robs humans of our beauty and all of the heinous things we do. Because it's like something that evil. And again, I'm using my language to define this instance, and I think that is just so evil that there's no rationalizing that behavior. That's a monster, you know, in my opinion, and that there's nothing that you could say would be like, oh, they were doing this because they had an unmet need. That unmet need is again, in my definition, straight up evil, and they can't exist in proper society. Not that proper society is a great place either, but that particular instance that we're talking about is totally depraved, and they can't belong in society. Like if someone has that kind of need in them, they can never be trusted with anything ever again. And I've helped catch some of these child predators, and I that was another thing that really made me think about evil and really made me believe that there is such a thing as good and evil. That someone could go out there, because in their minds, they thought they were justifying these things totally. And they were thinking, as they were talking to us, this isn't that bad at first. This is she's only 11, But to me, I was getting sick hearing it. In them, when they were talking about it, it was nonchalant and it wasn't that big of a deal. And there's different reasons for all that happening. I could get into demons and stuff, but other people could say it's victims, hurt people on an extreme level, because a lot of these people allegedly were also abused as kids. But I don't think that's every one of them. They're all different, like the way the serial killers are all different. But yeah, I can't sterilize these horrific decisions like that, but like what you're talking about kind of lines up with the determinism attitude. I've heard someone like Sam Harris talks about it. He has some extreme points on that too. And I understand it. It's a really interesting conversation, the free will versus determinism. The determinism really strips out the idea, in my opinion, of the right and wrong, of the good and evil, because it's this thing your path has been set in stone. So even the most heinous thing is like, they're saying, not all of them, but some of them say, well, how could you hold them accountable for something that they were just always bound to do? So I think that's a wild argument to make for human nature, but that's, I'm coming from a place of, we're all just, we're all born evil. Human nature, I think, is really bad. Look at, on a local level, we're talking about going after these evil people going after kids. Then we'll zoom out and look at an international level and everything we're dealing with in the world right now. And other types of serial killers who are, behind the curtains in our governments across the world, who are hovering their fingers over the nuke buttons or whatever, maybe not nukes, probably just hypersonic missiles and who knows what, biological warfare. But, they're to me, they're just as evil. And I don't know what happened to them, why they grew up to be that way, why they need that power and greed in them, because maybe it was a different form of serial killer who just made it corporate and then got promoted into the government and now has the power to destroy the world. But no, I love this conversation, though. I think it's really interesting.
Thank you. Can I clarify two things real quick?
Of course, yeah.
One is that something you just said. Damn, I lost my train of thought again.
We were talking about serial killers, these evil people going after children. We're talking about the military-industrial complex. We were talking about what happens. Yeah.
One clarification is that, like, when I talk about a need, I'll clarify a need, because I think that's something that we, in the English language especially, we say, I need something when it's really something we want. So when I say a need, let's say for somebody that kidnaps a child and murders them, their need might be a connection to their inner child. And obviously the way that they're trying to connect with their inner child by inflicting harm on another child is awful and harmful to that child. But I think we all have the same universal needs. Like, we all need to connect with our inner child. And saying that about somebody isn't moralistic, it's universal. And that's the distinction between somebody's need and their strategy, because I believe we all have the same universal needs, and then we communicate with each other using language. We talk about what we want.
Right.
And
I mean, another way of looking at this, a softer way, is like, I could say theft is bad, clearly, but if I'm starving and my kids are starving,
that's a need.
And I have to steal,
But lions are hunting for food.
Right.
They're not killing because they want to. They're not murdering children because they want to.
In my argument, that is a moral line I have to cross to do the number one thing I'm on this planet to do, and that's to keep my kids protected and healthy. So I'm going to go out and do that. But then I'm not going out to hurt someone. You could then make the argument that me stealing is hurting someone, but I wouldn't, you know, I wouldn't, I like to say I wouldn't take anyone's life, you know, by doing this, but who knows in what dystopian world we could inherit and what goes on. You know, you've seen all these zombie movies and the stuff people have to do to survive. But I think when it comes to the child thing that we were talking about, that need that they have to, if you're in your argument to reconnect with their childhood, that need is completely perverted and wrong. And that is the total wrong way of doing it. And there's a ton of ways to, you know, go through your childhood.
I just want to say I agree with
totally.
you.
But like, you know, it's just tough, you know, those people can't exist in society. And we chose a really extreme one, which is why, you know, the stealing to feed your children is a bit of an easier one to because it's great. It's more of a gray area.
Well, this buys in though, because, and I'm gonna go back to an earlier point that you made, Gian. You mentioned that with these basic needs that people have, that people, although they're choosing this way to meet that need, that there are other ways. Now, from an outside perspective, yeah, that's all great. But realistically, if a person is choosing to go down this path to this kind of extremity, I don't think there is another way to satiate those needs. This is why you have serial killers that keep going and keep going, because they can't get enough of it. Whatever need they have isn't being met, even by doing the most extreme thing that you can possibly do, which is taking another life, at least in my opinion. And that's, we ourselves have created the words and the definitions for good and evil, and some people have different places from where it comes from, religion-based, whatever. My definition is basically just on that morality line. You know when something is just completely so effed up and wrong that you shouldn't be doing it, regardless of how you feel or how it makes you feel. Like that's where I think mental disorders and things like that come into play, because these people are not normal on the same line that the rest of the population of the world.
And it's also about the degree to which people are willing to accept consequence. You know, like the consequence of me stealing to feed my kids, there will probably be some. But the consequence of harming a child, I mean, that not only, in my opinion, harms your soul.
It's impure.
But that is just an awful thing to do all around. And then thinking about someone's lack of fear of consequence is in itself a mental issue. You know, like the way that someone like Ted Bundy is a good example of, he can exist in the real world. He was working in politics. He was clean cut, had his car, you know, and then he would go out and hunt. And he would, you know, people sterilize what Bundy did because they just think of like the Netflix stuff, and they think of, you know, he was this handsome guy in politics. This dude was a monster. And I won't get too crazy, but he did pull out people's entrails and wrap them through trees in California. Like, this was a
Ed Gein made furniture out of people.
Ed Gein wore people. Like, he wore people. It's just like, so
how the hell do you explain that?
And like, they don't because their need, their bloodlust overpowered any fear of consequence. Also because Bundy was, he was a really smart guy. This dude, I mean, I recommend, if anyone's ever bored and wants to go down that one, you can go watch him defend himself in court. Ever seen those videos?
Yeah.
They're wild.
It's insane.
He got himself married in court during his trial. Wild dude. Yeah. And then he's interesting to talk about with morality too, because he claimed to be, I believe he claimed, I want to say it was Christian in the end, but it might have been something different. Didn't someone call recently and say it was Mormon or something? Or Jehovah's?
We have him probably a couple of times a week now. He's a repeat offender.
The ghost of Bundy calling.
IDub, yeah.
I forget what exact denomination he decided to, you know.
It was that 3-letter church.
Was it LDS?
I think so, yeah.
Yeah. I didn't know that until someone said that, but
I'm pretty sure he was on last night.
Yeah. You know, and then it's like, how do you accept that? And then in Christianity, depending on your handle on theology, if someone accepts Christ, you have to like believe that God redeems them, which is something I very much struggle with when it comes to someone like Bundy or someone like a child predator, and how, you know, they can do that. I do believe in redemption. I've believed in redemption
at the last moment sometimes as well.
Yep. And then, you know, there's the whole thing about works versus faith, and you can talk about the thief on the cross, and like the thief didn't do anything other than accept Christ, and they say the thief made it to heaven. I like to think so in my reading of it, but it's hard to think that about someone like a Bundy or these other people who've accepted religion in the end after doing nothing but heinous acts. So that's something I struggle with. But yeah, still at the end of the day, to me, I after going through way too much college and then like being a teacher and just like overcomplicating everything, I got to a point where like things I'm seeing in my world around me and then in the country and then in the world, I was like, for me, the easiest way and the most powerful way to boil this all down is that it's just good and evil. And that is what is operating underneath everything. Mm-hmm. Everything. And, you know, I was even thinking that before I was religious like I am now. Yeah. I was just being like, there's some straight up monsters, you know? But yeah, I mean, I love this conversation. I appreciate you calling in and bringing this up. And if you like have other thoughts on this and, you know, develop other, like another, like, ways of talking about it, you feel free to call in and we'll talk about it some more.
Yeah. Thanks for letting me talk about it. I like to listen to politics and stuff where things are mostly black and white. So when I have a view the way I do, and I try to view the world the way I do, it's helpful to hear your opinions on it and
Most
see kind of how other people.
Most definitely. I love hearing it, man.
Yeah. Break things down. Thanks.
Of course. Have a great night.
Thanks, man.
Thank you.
Awesome. That was a good conversation.
Oh man, I could go on for another hour.
I know. Do we have any other people in queue? Yeah. All right, man. You guys are amazing.
We got about 20 minutes here.
Okay. How many people?
We got 2 or 3. Yeah, we got 3. Solid.
Okay. We'll take one, see how it goes.
And,
who we don't get to.
Well, just in case if it runs long, let's address all the paperwork here really quick.
Yep.
Thank you for hanging out. Like, subscribe, follow, share, all that good stuff. Hang out and chat. Do your thing. We appreciate it. We're going to be back tomorrow night at 10 p.m. Eastern for another bout. We will be taking your calls as well. So if we don't get to you tonight, please call back tomorrow. I will mark your names down if we leave you in queue, and I will make sure I get you guys on the show first. And Shane, you got anything else?
This is episode 60.
This is episode 60.
We just did episode 50. Mm-hmm. This new schedule is wild.
We're actually at the end of next week. We will be finishing out our first month, technically, of the new show format already.
I am very much enjoying this new schedule. I'm loving everyone calling in. I'm loving these conversations. It's been really I'm very grateful for it. So thank you all for tuning in. And I hope the people we don't get to tonight understand and you call back tomorrow. And Brandon's been really good at remembering who was waiting. So we'll get you back in ASAP.
All right. Let's go to Jordan here without further ado. A
case of the mutes.
This is a case of the Zoom lags.
Oh, Zoom! It's the weather outside is frightful.
Jordan, you're on Inverted World Live. What's up? Case of the mutes.
Okay.
There he is.
Hey, can you hear us, sir?
Yeah, I can. This is interesting. Wow.
What's up?
I got a couple stories. Long time listener, first time caller.
Sweet. That's awesome. Love it.
I had to throw that in there.
Yeah, that's amazing. You're the first one to say it, actually.
I got a UFO story and a ghost story. My only ghost story, and I got about 2 UFO stories, but this is my only ghost story.
Let's hear it.
But I'll do the UFO. UFO, I was laying out summer night, watching UFOs, waiting for UFOs. Saw about... Can you hear me fine?
Yeah.
Yeah, you're all right.
Okay. I'm on a decent little mic. Oh, okay, cool. Okay. Laying out looking for UFOs in Cassopolis, Michigan, or should I say that? I don't know, whatever, too late. Little tiny town. Awesome place, good people. And saw this blue light. And it wasn't too close to me. It was decently high up. It was a solid blue, like a star, going real, and no flashing, no fast stuff, just solid blue star. It wasn't tiny, it was bright. It had the spikes of light kind of coming off of it because it was so bright. Not physical spikes, but light spikes. And then I'm watching it right when it got above my body. That thing started to go up. Now, I don't really know that it was going up because, I was laying on the ground, but it just started pinning, you saw it, man. It went up and started getting to a normal, star light, like a normal speck of light, and I was just like, yo,
When you
there
say,
was.
I'm sorry, when you say going up, do you mean like increasing in altitude, or was this just becoming more
Yeah,
brilliant?
but like I don't really have proof because I was laying on the ground. It just
Sure.
this sort of blue spiky bright light just started dimming down, but dude, it was going up and kind of lilting to the side. It didn't shoot off like of my vision. It went up. It was definitely a thing.
Okay.
And then my ghost story is this, a little more interesting is why I saved it. It's from in Cassopolis, like where I'm at, or from my friend had a house where they saw ghosts all day and night. Like daytime, nighttime, all the time. Um I have a personal one, but I'll say my friend's brother had somebody just sit next to him on a couch, like something just, and there was no one in the house, daylight. Some being sat next to him, and he was just like frozen. And he was a hardcore dude, like he was. Anywho, so I wasn't there for that one. They saw little girls out the window, you know. But my story was, I was with two other friends in this house. We're in the kitchen talking, and there's mirrors in like the living room. Like our backs are to the living room. We're talking, three of us are talking. The owner of the house, or my friend that lives there, throws his hands out and stops me and my other friend like from talking, says, and points like, look, look, look. And this black shadow, like I saw, it's like shoulder, head, legs, arm, man. And we ran out of that house. We started calling our friend like, dude, are you here messing with us, dude? Are you here messing with us? Like, no, man, I'm not even there yet. Like, yeah. So that's my personal only ghost story. I tried to make it fast because
that was awesome. Can I ask you some quick questions about all the stories really quick?
Okay. I would love that. Yes.
When you say it went up, we're going back to the blue spiky light thing.
UFO,
like,
yeah.
how fast was it going up? Or could you say, like, was it like, was it slow?
Dude, it wasn't like the instant, like, like I don't know. It was like, like about maybe 5 or 10 seconds, and I'd say 10 seconds, I couldn't see it anymore.
Okay. So like a really fast elevator as opposed to like the tic-tac.
Yes.
As opposed to Vin Diesel in a Mustang. Yeah. Okay.
And then it kind of as it shot up, it lilted slightly, kind of like, I can't remember if it was the left or right. I think it was the right, kind of like you could see this slight lilt. Dude, it was, I don't know. It was definitely pretty close and pretty bright.
Did it have a sound?
No, of course.
And it was just blue the entire time. You didn't see a color shift?
Oh, I wish. I was hoping for a color. Like, I was hoping.
Because I saw basically what you were describing a couple of weeks ago right outside the studio, actually, before we came in. And
on a night like this with lightning.
There was a color change. It went from green to blue before it faded out into the horizon.
Yep.
I got to drag Dom up here one of these times to tell his side of the story.
Should come up here and tell it.
He's just a security guard. He's got no reason to bullshit anybody. But he saw it too, and he described basically the same thing.
And then for the ghosts that your friends were seeing day and night, did they like interact at all? Did they talk? I know you said that one sat down next to him, but was there any like communication?
I wish I remembered. It was, I don't remember for anything, any interactions or anything. I just heard different stories from my friend and his brother. And I just remembered another story of my friend was in that kitchen, like the same kitchen we were at when we saw the thing. Now he was alone. I wasn't with him, but I trust him. He was my old 20-year-old or 20-year friend. He said that somebody was just like, there was a door, like this door to the garage was just like absolutely about to come off the hinges. And he was like, I don't think I'm coming around anymore. Like just imagine watching a door just trying to just open it like.
Nice. Yeah, that's a good one. Do you happen to know about Holly, Michigan?
No, I don't get around much, but
it's the one place in Michigan I know. I slept in the forest in Holly, Michigan, and then I played a show at a place called the Barn of 1,000 Souls.
Wow.
With a bunch of death metal bands.
Nice.
You knew it. I've been to Mackinac Island. You know about that place?
I know about it, but again, I don't get around. I'm a sheltered these little towns around here are very sheltered, very small. Like look up Dowagiac and Cassopolis. They're like 10,000 population towns,
Sick.
technically villages.
Well, Michigan's a beautiful state.
I love it so much.
It's really
and there's
beautiful.
no riot. Sorry, no riots here, buddy. Yeah. And years ago, when everybody was rioting, I was driving through my little towns and like peace, quiet.
Oh yeah. Yeah, it's beautiful. I love driving through that state. I think
Michigan ain't all beautiful. You ever been to Detroit?
Well, okay, all right. We're trying to romanticize Michigan.
I had to say it.
Yeah, you gave us Eminem. Well, that's awesome.
A video. Could I click my video on really fast and say hi, or is that no?
Right now, no, but only because I haven't gotten around to actually being able to get this to show your screens. We're working on that for in the future.
Okay, I got a decent camera up, but okay, cool.
I'll see if I can get you on
giddy
right
right now,
next
dude.
time.
Oh, where can I buy the Inverted World book? Where do I look?
They are on Amazon. If you look up Inverted World, if you look up Tales from the Inverted World, you'll find both books.
Okay, they're still available?
Okay. Yeah, they're still on there. There's two. The first one is like, I forget the subtitle is long and probably way too long, but it's about like simulation theory, alien abduction. The second one is called Tales from the Inverted World, Ghosts of the Civil War, and that's the whole book in Georgia. So yeah, they're there.
Nice.
Awesome, man. Thanks for calling in.
Yeah, thanks. This is awesome. I appreciate it.
Yeah, man, of course.
Have a good night.
Sick.
You too.
So what do you think? Should we do a story that we have pulled up that we haven't gotten to? Since we're still
we do have some stuff we could still address. We got about 9 minutes.
We got a few minutes left. If the people who are here waiting still, if you don't mind calling back tomorrow, we'll get to you. Brandon will hopefully get to you guys first if you come back.
I'm marking all your names.
Writing your names down right now.
I will see you guys tomorrow
and,
for sure.
I wanted to do this one last one, the one about the UFO they think they found in the desert. I think it was. This one's interesting, or another hoax. I don't know, but it's in the Sahara Desert. But again, thank you all. Thank you everyone who's been calling in. This is another really fun episode, and you guys have been making this show really, really awesome, extra special. So thank you for that. So I wanted to. It's a good bookend for how we started this episode. From the Daily Mail, mysterious flying saucer in the Sahara Desert is discovered on Google Maps, as baffled viewers suggest it could be a crashed UFO. Let's get into it. You see that picture there? Did you see it? Oh, it's not on there? On yours? There it is.
Oh, here we go.
Thing. Look at that thing. Let's see what this is all about. From a mysterious doorway in the Antarctic, which we didn't even get to that yet in our Antarctica news. That is a whole other thing. To hidden symbols in the Gobi Desert, Google Maps has revealed some weird and wonderful secrets over the years. But this latest discovery might be one of the strangest yet. Keen-eyed internet sleuths have spotted what seems to be a flying saucer buried in the Sahara Desert. According to some baffled viewers, the unusual structure could be a crashed UFO that has been buried for thousands of years. The mysterious object is located near the tiny town of Borj Omar Driss, Algeria. I hope I said that right. Hope you don't send me any letters if you're from Algeria. Deep within the Sahara Desert. UFO hunter Scott Waring, who made the strange discovery, told Mail Online it's likely the UFO has been there for tens of thousands of years, predating recorded human history. I also want to note, he said, that the CIA and other organizations will have people try to label any discoveries of UFOs on Google Earth map as something else in order to manipulate and deceive the public from knowing the truth. I mean, he's got a pretty good point there, but they also lie about UFOs as well, so you can't believe anyone.
Is this not a small town that we're seeing right outside of this thing to the right, though?
Yeah, right.
Look at that second picture.
I know. I don't understand.
Like, undiscovered, really?
Well, yeah, it does say it's near the tiny town. So, like,
what the hell?
Why haven't they interviewed the people in the tiny town, Daily Mail? Send someone down to Algeria and figure this out. They're like, yeah, that's just a UFO.
Oh, yeah, no, that's just been there for millions of years. We don't
That's
talk about
Ned's UFO. I mean, he never finished it. He passed it down to his children.
Yeah.
But it goes on to say, the odd structure was spotted on Google Maps at the coordinates, and it gives you the whole thing there if you want to go find it. In a video sharing his findings, Mr. Waring claims that the UFO is buried 34.4 feet according to Google Earth's Pro Elevation measuring tools. Mr. Waring told Mail Online that at the Sahara's sediment accumulation rate of 0.5 millimeters per year, the UFO must have landed 21,000 years ago to be buried so deeply. He also points to the fact that the structure isn't present in early satellite images of the site, suggesting, and this is my favorite part of the story, that it must have been excavated recently, maybe by the tiny town, or it's not what he thinks it is. On social media, he left surprising comments, have found widespread support. He got a lot of support online as commenters rushed to share their excitement. One enthusiastic commenter wrote, "I would love to know the whole story, but this definitely looks like a crash site or something considering it popped up on the map out of nowhere." Now, you guys could be the judge of that. It could be a total hoax. It could be something someone else built. It is interesting. I love people finding stuff on Google Maps. I think it's an amazing thing people do. I have a hard time believing something could crash for that long and not be found. It's also literally next to a small town. It's like right out.
It's like it's gas station position
like
from like a subdivision,
on the road outside of the town. And then there's just
there
this
he is.
weird
There's the guy.
That's my UFO down there.
There's the guy. Don't just ignore that for a few
Don't
million
touch
years.
that thing. What does the caption say for this?
Structure is likely on the foundation for an onshore wind turbine.
So we'll have to check back in with this. We'll remember these coordinates. We will check back in with Google Maps. We'll give it a month or two.
That's
I'll make a
concrete
note.
framing for sure. That's concrete framing.
And if this turns into a wind turbine, just more UFO disinformation, people. But yeah, I don't know.
Do you see the tower there in the center? It's casting a shadow.
Yep.
11 to 12 o'clock.
I don't think I even sent you the creepy town in Japan video, right, with the UFOs. That was linked. I might not have, but there's a story out recently about this haunted little village. It might be in Tokyo, where there's just a ton of UFOs, and I was like, maybe it's just one of these things. Someone built something for the carnival, didn't go down, but it does look like the
World's Fair. It kind of looks like that,
right? I wonder if they're going to get any more like tourism out of this now. This thing that magically appeared. Or it just disappears and we never find out again. But maybe go up real quick since we have just a few minutes left. All the way up to the top where the hyperlink for the doorway in the Antarctic. And we might as well just, for a follow-up for our Antarctic listeners out there. Mysterious doorway. We didn't do this yet, right?
I don't think I've seen this yet.
We have had a lot of Antarctica news. This is from last October.
Bigfoot's vacation home or a shuttle from Star Trek?
Keep that open for tomorrow. That is perfect. So, I love how this article it starts exactly the same as the last article, just with different details. From a two-headed dog to a headless man, weird and wonderful objects are often spotted on Google Maps. Shout out to Google Maps. But the latest sighting is arguably one of the strangest yet. A mysterious doorway has been spotted in Antarctica, just southeast of the Japanese-run Showa station. So for those who've been listening the past week, a lot of countries have a lot of stations in Antarctica. The discovery has sparked a range of theories across the internet, including Bigfoot's vacation home, right? Oh, that's right. Or a shuttle from Star Trek. That's amazing. Now, scientists have revealed to Mail Online what the structure really is and say there's a simple explanation. The unusual structure gives you the coordinates again. It's a massive door. They wrote, "Is this a massive door in Antarctica?" Are they going to make me scroll down this much with the answer?
Mm-hmm.
Just
they want you to see those ads,
Someone said it's just a blown-off Boeing door. That's probably the most one. One user suggested it was a door to Agartha.
Didn't you make a Boeing door flying off joke like a week ago?
I made a bunch. I think I made one on IRL last night. Sorry, Boeing.
It's fantastic. He's not, though.
Sadly, the structure's true identity is much less exciting than these theories might lead you to believe. Professor Bethan Davies, a professor of glaciology at the University of Newcastle, looked at the coordinates on Google Earth Pro, allowing her to see historic imagery. Now, I love that everyone is just using Google Earth Pro. No one's being there like Douglas Murray would prefer, but everyone's just like, well, let me type in these coordinates and I'll tell you my expert opinion.
The coordinates are right here on the screen too, in case anybody wants to do their own digging here.
If you guys have these coordinates, you are also experts. This feature, she says, is an area of fast sea ice in East Antarctica, just offshore of the coast, she explained. There are a series of islands there, and the water is pretty shallow. This is an iceberg that became grounded and is now stuck and melting out in situ, Is that a typo or is that a word? I don't know. I'm an idiot. You can see many other icebergs in the area. Okay,
that I can believe, because if you look at the color of it, it's got that kind of light blue tint to it, like it is frozen water, glacier.
Like the kind inside the Fortress of Solitude.
Yeah.
Like the kind Superman would go inside.
But this also looks like this is on like a mountainside, doesn't it?
Bro, they plowed it. They plowed it. They got a plow out there. This is a doorway.
Because, yeah, there's, I mean, to the right, too, there's kind of this like trail line there that also looks like it's a lighter blue texture. So that could be ice. But the other question is why the hell did it melt so perfectly into a doorway? Unless somebody,
it's a doorway.
Went
could be where Hitler went, you know. There's a lot of stuff down there with the Nazis. Could be another Nazi base. And
Icegate 2025.
This person is just trying to throw us off the trail. But that's the show, guys. That was another fun one. Thank you so much for joining in. Brandon, let them know where they can find you and what's the deal with everything.
You can find me at Brando Inverted on Insta and X. The deal with everything we'll have to get back to because that's going to take a little bit longer to explain. But thank you guys so much for hanging out. We really appreciate it. We'll see you tomorrow at 10. And don't forget to stay weird.
Yeah, thank you guys so much. The callers, you all are the best. Thank you for tuning in. We will be back tomorrow, 10 o'clock. You can find me online everywhere at Shane Cashman. Tomorrow we'll have a lot of stuff. You know, maybe World War III will kick off. World War IV, depending on who you're talking to and how you define world wars.
If we're still here tomorrow.
Yeah. And wait, is it Tuesday right now?
Tuesday just ended. So the
it was Tuesday. We missed it.
We missed all of Tuesday. I addressed it last night before we left the studio.
Okay.
So the experiments have all been burned for the day. We're moving on.
Sweet. Well, thank you guys. We will see you tomorrow. Later.